Chapter 7. Choosing Closeness. Echoes of the Broken Crown. Chapter 7. Choosing Closeness. Arjun. The first snowfall arrived earlier than expected. Not enough to disrupt travel. Just enough to dust rooftops and soften the edges of the city. Winter was returning. Another year nearly complete. Arjun stood beside a palace window watching snow collect along the courtyard stones. The sight still felt novel. Back in Bengaluru, winter had meant slightly cooler weather. Here, it transformed the entire landscape. A knock interrupted his thoughts. Enter. One of the palace attendants stepped inside. Her Highness requests your presence. Arjun suppressed a smile. Immediately? At your convenience. That alone told him the meeting wasn't urgent. Elara reserved immediate summons for actual emergencies. 20 minutes later, he found her in a small planning room overlooking the northern gardens. Maps covered half the table. Tea occupied the other half. A familiar arrangement. Trade routes? He asked. No. Military reports? No. Arjun sat. Then why am I here? A faint smile appeared. Because I wanted another opinion. He glanced at the stack of documents. Marriage proposals. Of course. Elara. She regretted the decision almost immediately. Not because Arjun would judge her. Because she disliked discussing the subject at all. Still, she had asked. And she trusted him. That mattered. Several moments passed while he reviewed the papers. Eventually he looked up. These are terrible. The response surprised a laugh out of her. Be diplomatic. I am. He tapped one document. This lord appears to believe listing his horses qualifies as a personality. A second laugh escaped before she could stop it. The sound felt unfamiliar, yet increasingly welcome. Arjun's expression softened. You don't have to decide today. There are political consequences. There always are. She frowned. That's not especially helpful. No. He folded the papers neatly. But it's true. The room grew quiet. Then he asked something unexpected. What do you want? The question caught her completely off guard. Because most people never asked. They asked what the kingdom needed. What alliances required. What tradition demanded. Rarely what she wanted. For several seconds she had no answer. Not because she didn't know. Because she wasn't accustomed to saying it aloud. Finally, I want to make choices because they're right. A pause. Not because I'm afraid. Something changed in his expression. Not surprise. Recognition. As though he understood exactly what she meant. Arjun. The answer stayed with him long after the conversation ended. Not because it was profound. Because it was honest. Fear had shaped so much of Elara's life. Not irrational fear. Real fear. Earned fear. The fact that she wanted something beyond it felt significant. A sign of recovery. Not completion. Movement. Later that evening, while reviewing reports in his chambers, another realization settled in. He loved her. The thought arrived without drama. Without panic. Without denial. Simply certainty. Not the idealized version people wrote poems about. The real person. The woman who overworked herself. Who carried too much responsibility. Who still woke from nightmares some nights. Who occasionally forgot meals when focused on policy discussions. Who laughed more often now than she had 8 months ago. The woman she actually was. Arjun closed the report. Then sighed. Because knowing something and acting on it were different matters. For now, he chose patience. Elara. Master Corvin noticed immediately. Of course he did. You seem happier. The accusation felt deeply unfair. I am not. The healer raised an eyebrow. Interesting. I mean. She stopped. Corvin waited. Patiently. As always. Eventually she sighed. Perhaps slightly. There we are. She resisted the urge to throw a cushion at him. Instead, she folded her arms. You enjoy this. Immensely. His smile widened. Now tell me why. Elara looked toward the window. The answer felt obvious. And frightening. Because speaking truths aloud gave them shape. Yet she had spent too many years avoiding truths already. Finally, there's someone I trust. Corvin remained silent. Encouraging. Not pushing. Just listening. Someone whose company I enjoy. The healer's expression became suspiciously knowing. She ignored it. Someone who makes difficult days easier. A pause. Not because he fixes them. Another pause. Because he doesn't expect me to face them alone. Silence followed. Long enough that she finally looked up. Corvin smiled gently. That sounds healthy. The relief she felt at those words surprised her. Not because she required permission. Because part of her had expected concern. Warnings. Caution. Instead, healthy. A simple word. Yet it eased something inside her. Arjun winter deepened. Snow covered much of the countryside. Travel slowed. Council sessions shortened slightly. For the first time in months, both of them found occasional moments of free time, which somehow resulted in more walks. Not through gardens now. Through enclosed palace corridors and covered courtyards. One evening they stopped near a glass-roofed conservatory. Snow drifted beyond the transparent ceiling. Plants filled the room with unexpected warmth and color. Neither seemed eager to leave. The conversation drifted naturally, as it often did. Books, politics, architecture. Then silence. Comfortable silence. Elara stood beside a flowering winter shrub. Thoughtful. Eventually she spoke. Can I ask you something? Usually. A faint smile. Do you ever get tired? The question surprised him. Constantly. She laughed. I meant of helping people. Understanding settled. Arjun considered the answer. Sometimes. Honesty felt important. But not because they're difficult. A pause. Mostly because I can't solve everything. Elara looked away. That bothers you. It used to. The correction seemed important. What changed? He thought of therapy sessions years ago. Of grief. Of helplessness. Of learning limits. You can care about someone without being responsible for their healing. The words hung between them. Meaningful. Because both understood the implication. Elara's gaze lowered. A subtle emotion crossed her face. Relief. Perhaps. Elara, the statement remained with her for days. Not because it was new. Because she believed him. Many people claimed similar things. Arjun lived them. There was a difference. He never treated her like a project. Never viewed her pain as something he needed to conquer. Never measured her progress as evidence of his importance. The respect inherent in that felt profound. And increasingly precious. One evening she found herself standing outside his office. An unusual occurrence. She almost turned around. Almost. Instead, she knocked. Come in. Arjun looked up from several documents, immediately setting them aside. Not because she outranked him. Because she had his attention. The realization warmed her unexpectedly. I hope I'm not interrupting. You absolutely are. She blinked. Then he smiled. But it's preferable to road maintenance reports. A laugh escaped her. The familiar ease settled between them. Comfortable. Natural. Safe. And for the first time, Elara allowed herself to stop questioning why. Some things did not need immediate analysis. Some things could simply exist. Trust. Friendship. Affection. Whatever this was becoming. It did not require rushing. For now, it was enough to sit across from him while snow fell quietly outside the window. Enough to feel understood. Enough to know that when she looked toward the future, she no longer imagined walking through it entirely alone. End of Chapter 7.